Hey, so tonight we're going to talk about something pretty wild. What if you woke up tomorrow as an American soldier fighting in World War II? Trust me, by the time we're done, you're going to be real grateful for that mattress you're lying on. Oh, and if you're enjoying these stories, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. Super curious where you're all listening from, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Always blows my mind how people are falling asleep to this all over the world. All right, find that cozy spot. Take a nice slow breath and just let your body sink into whatever you're lying on. We're heading back to January 1945 into the frozen forests of eastern France. So, congratulations. You just woke up in eastern France. It's January 1945 and you're absolutely freezing. Not the kind of cold where you grab another blanket. I mean bone deep, can't feel your toes, frozen eyelashes, cold. The first thing you notice is that you're sleeping on frozen ground, not a mattress, not a cot, just dirt that's so frozen it might as well be concrete. You've got a single wool blanket that's stiff with ice around the edges, and it's dusted with a layer of fresh snow that fell while you managed those precious few minutes of sleep. You're wearing the same clothes you've had on for nearly 2 weeks now, wool socks that haven't been dry since Christmas, army-issue boots that are starting to separate at the seams, layers of olive drab that smell like a mixture of sweat, dirt, and the slightly metallic scent of fear. There's a steel helmet beside you, and it's so cold that touching the metal with bare skin would be a mistake. The air smells like pine trees, gunpowder, and something else. Something vaguely sweet and horrible that you've sadly gotten used to. The smell of death. When you sit up, every muscle in your body screams in protest. Your back has been compressed against that frozen ground, your joints stiff from the cold. Nearby you can hear the sounds of other men stirring in their foxholes. Someone coughs, someone else mutters a curse, someone prays. This is the Colmar Pocket, one of the last German strongholds in France, and you, my friend, are a soldier in Company B of the 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division of the United States Army. Just a few days ago, your company had over 100 men. Now, you're down to about 40. You've been fighting almost non-stop since landing in Italy nearly 2 years ago. The good news? You're still alive, which is better than a lot of guys can say. The bad news? The Germans are about to launch a massive counterattack and you're right in their path. Look to your left. See that skinny kid checking his M1 carbine? That's Second Lieutenant Audie Murphy. He looks like he should still be in high school, doesn't he? Just 19 years old, barely 5'5", maybe 110 pounds, soaking wet. You'd never guess it. But he's already the most decorated soldier in your company, with a Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, and 2 Bronze Stars. The guys call him Baby because of his boyish face, but nobody makes that joke to his face anymore, not after they saw what he did at Anzio, single-handedly taking out a German machine gun nest, or in France when he killed 2 snipers and another machine gun position all by himself. The guy's either incredibly brave or has a serious death wish, maybe both. Hey, he nods to you, his breath visible in the freezing air. Get some coffee if there's any left. Gonna be a long day. You crawl out of your foxhole, your boots crunching on the snow. The forest around you is beautiful in a stark, deadly way. Tall pine trees, their branches heavy with snow, morning mist hanging between the trunks. In the distance you can see the village of Holzwihr, about a mile away across open fields, German-held territory. The position you're holding isn't great. Your company is at the edge of a woods shaped like a U, with open fields in front of you. There's a narrow road that leads from the woods to the village. The ground is so frozen that digging proper foxholes has been nearly impossible. Most guys have only managed to scrape out shallow depressions, just enough to get their bodies below ground level. You find your way to what passes for a mess area. It's just a slightly wider part of the forest where some poor cook is trying to heat coffee over a tiny stove that gives off almost no heat. The coffee, when you get it, is barely warm and tastes like mud. But it's coffee, and the caffeine might keep you alert enough to stay alive. "Germans are moving," says a sergeant, his face weathered and lined beyond his years. Scouts spotted activity in the village. Could be nothing, could be something. You take a sip of the terrible coffee and feel it hit your empty stomach. When was the last time you ate a real meal? You can't remember. The K rations you've been living on are better than nothing, but they're not exactly home cooking. A small can of processed meat, some biscuits hard enough to break teeth, a chocolate bar that's frozen solid, and a few cigarettes. Breakfast of champions. The sun is starting to rise, casting long shadows through the trees. You hear the distant rumble of artillery, so constant that it's become like background noise. Your hands shake slightly, though whether from cold or fear, you're not sure anymore. Lieutenant Murphy is moving among the men, checking positions, offering words of encouragement. Despite his size and age, there's something about him that inspires confidence. Maybe it's the calm way he speaks, or the fact that he's survived so much already. When he looks at you, his eyes are older than his face. "Keep your head down today," he tells you. Something feels off. Back at your foxhole, you check your gear. Your M1 Garand rifle is your most valuable possession. 8 rounds in the clip, the metal cold against your gloved hands. You have several more clips in your ammunition pouches. Your canteen is half full of water that's partially frozen. You have a first aid packet, a bayonet, and a few grenades. Not much to stake your life on, but it's all you've got. Around 2 p.m, everything changes. First, there's the sound, a rumbling that's different from artillery. It's mechanical, rhythmic, getting louder. Tank engines. "They're coming!" someone shouts, and suddenly everyone is alert, weapons ready. From the village of Holtzwihr, emerging from the mist, you see them. 6 German tanks, massive metal beasts crawling across the snow-covered field toward your position. Behind them, moving in skirmish order, are German infantry. Not just a few, hundreds of them. Someone near you whispers, "Jesus Christ." The odds are impossible. 40 of you against hundreds of them, plus tanks. Your company has nothing that can stop a German Panther tank. Nothing except the 2 M10 tank destroyers that have been supporting you. One is positioned on the road leading to the village. The other, about 40 yards ahead toward Holtzwihr. Lieutenant Murphy is on the radio calling for artillery support. His voice is steady, but you can see the tension in his shoulders. This is bad, really bad. The German artillery opens up and the world becomes noise and chaos. Shells explode among the trees, sending splinters and shrapnel flying in all directions. You press yourself into your shallow foxhole, trying to become one with the frozen earth. When you dare to look up, you see one of your M10 tank destroyers get hit. There's a flash, an explosion, and the commander and gunner are just gone. The surviving crew abandons the burning vehicle and runs for the trees. The second M10 is firing continuously, trying to slow the German advance, but its shells are bouncing off the frontal armour of the Panthers. Then it tries to back up into the tree line for better cover, slides off the road and gets stuck in a drainage ditch, its gun now useless. Lieutenant Murphy is shouting orders. "Fall back to the secondary position. Move!" You know what this means. Your current position is untenable. There's a stronger defensive line prepared a few hundred meters deeper in the woods, but someone has to cover the withdrawal. Murphy speaks into his field telephone, calling in artillery coordinates. He's standing fully exposed, directing fire on the advancing Germans. You think he must be insane, but you're also grateful that someone is keeping the Germans busy while you retreat. As you move back through the trees, staying low, you look over your shoulder. What you see stops you in your tracks. Murphy is still there, alone now. The rest of the company is retreating. The M10 tank destroyer is burning, billowing black smoke, and Murphy climbs on top of it. He's taken position behind the .50 caliber machine gun mounted on the burning tank destroyer. German bullets and artillery are impacting all around him. The tank could explode at any moment, but there he is, firing the heavy machine gun at the advancing German infantry, cutting them down in swaths. You can't hear what he's saying over the din of battle, but later you'll learn that when the artillery coordinator asked how close the Germans were, Murphy responded, "Just hold the phone and I'll let you talk to one of the bastards." For an hour, Murphy stays on that burning tank destroyer, firing the .50 cal, calling in artillery strikes, holding off hundreds of German troops by himself. You watch from the tree line as the Germans try to flank him, as tank rounds explode near him, as the M10 is repeatedly hit and engulfed in smoke. Twice, you're certain he's been killed. Twice, he emerges from the smoke, still firing. The ground around the tank destroyer becomes littered with German dead. The attack falters, stalls, and finally begins to recede. Only then does Murphy climb down from the burning vehicle and walk back toward the American lines. He's limping from a leg wound, but he refuses evacuation. Instead, he organizes a counterattack, leading what's left of Company B back to reclaim the original position. The Germans retreat all the way back to Holzwehr. Later, you'll learn that Murphy killed or wounded approximately 50 German soldiers by himself. He stopped an attack by 6 tanks and 250 infantry. He saved what remained of Company B from certain destruction. As darkness falls, you're back in your foxhole at the edge of the woods. The temperature is dropping again. Your hands are numb, your feet blocks of ice. You're exhausted beyond belief, but somehow still alive. Murphy moves among the men, checking on everyone, making sure the wounded are being treated. When he passes your position, you notice that despite everything, his hands are steady. "Get some rest," he tells you. "They'll be back tomorrow." You settle deeper into your foxhole, pulling your frozen blanket around you. The stars are coming out, brilliant pinpoints in the clear winter sky. You think about home, about warm beds and hot meals, about streets where no one is trying to kill you. You shift slightly, finding that small spot where the ground isn't quite as hard beneath your hip. The cold seeps through your layers, but somehow your eyelids grow heavy. Your breathing slows and you feel your muscles relaxing one by one. In the distance, you can still hear the occasional sound of artillery, but here, in this moment, there's a strange kind of peace. You're still alive, your unit held. Tomorrow will bring what it brings. You yawn quietly, feeling your jaw crack from the cold. Your fingers finally start to warm up inside your gloves as you tuck them against your chest. The weight of your helmet on the ground beside you is oddly comforting, a small piece of protection in this dangerous world. You take another slow, deep breath, watching it cloud in the freezing air and settle in for another night in the frozen forests of France, where the snow continues to fall gently through the pine branches above. Morning comes too soon in the frozen forest, not with the gentle transition of sunlight through curtains, but with the harsh voice of a sergeant kicking the bottom of your foxhole. "Up and at 'em, soldier. Germans didn't go home just 'cause you're tired." Your body feels like it's made of lead and broken glass. Every joint aches from the cold. Your back is one solid knot of pain from sleeping on frozen ground. Your mouth tastes like you've been chewing on pennies. The temperature dropped even further overnight. They say it's the coldest winter in Europe in decades. You believe it. Ice has formed on the inside of your helmet where your breath froze. Your canteen is now a solid block of ice. Even your shoelaces are stiff and uncooperative as you try to tighten your boots. Around you, the other men of Company B are going through the same morning ritual, groaning as they stretch frozen limbs, cursing as they discover which parts of their equipment have frozen overnight, trying to light cigarettes with numb fingers. "Hey, pass the matches," says the guy in the next foxhole over. He's new, a replacement who arrived just 3 days ago, Jenkins or Johnson or something. They come and go so fast nowadays that you barely bother learning names. Mine are wet. You toss him your matchbook. He's young, maybe 18, with a round face that still has baby fat. Poor kid looks like he should be delivering newspapers, not fighting Nazis. He'll either toughen up quick or he'll die. There's not much middle ground out here. The sound of artillery starts up again in the distance. German 88s, probably. The distinctive crump, crump, crump has become as familiar as your own heartbeat. You've learned to tell the difference between outgoing and incoming. These are outgoing German shells headed somewhere else. Small mercies. Breakfast, such as it is, comes in the form of more K rations. The waxed cardboard box contains a small tin of powdered eggs that you mix with a little water to form a pale yellow paste. There's also a couple of rock-hard biscuits, a small chocolate bar that's frozen solid, and more of that awful instant coffee, gourmet dining army style. You eat mechanically, not because it tastes good, but because you need the calories. The cold burns energy faster than summer combat. Just staying warm is a battle in itself. Lieutenant Murphy appears, walking the line and checking positions. There's a bandage visible under his pant leg where he was wounded yesterday, but he moves without any obvious pain. His face is gaunt, cheekbones sharp under skin that's weathered beyond his years. He nods to you as he passes. "Any movement from the village?" he asks. "Nothing yet, sir," you reply. "All quiet since dawn." He grunts acknowledgement. "They took a beating yesterday, but they'll be back. Keep your eyes open." You watch him move on, speaking briefly with each man. He looks tired. Hell, everyone looks tired, but there's a quiet competence about him that inspires confidence. You've seen officers who lead from far behind the lines, who treat enlisted men like disposable game pieces. Murphy isn't like that. He's right here in the dirt with you. The morning passes slowly, the mind-numbing boredom of war, hurry up and wait, hours of nothing punctuated by moments of sheer terror. You spend the time cleaning your rifle. The M1 Garand is a solid piece of engineering, but it needs care, especially in these conditions. You field strip it, wiping down each part with an oily rag to prevent rust. The 8-round clip system is a vast improvement over the old bolt-action Springfield from the last war. Your dad served in France in 1918 carrying one of those. He rarely talked about it. Around noon, a jeep arrives with mail and supplies. Letters from home are worth more than gold out here. You get 2, one from your mum and one from your girl back in Ohio. You save them, tucking them inside your jacket. Letters are best read in private, where no one can see if they make you cry. There are also fresh socks, which might as well be Christmas presents. Nothing matters more in winter combat than keeping your feet dry. Trenchfoot has taken more men out of action than German bullets. You change your socks immediately, massaging feeling back into your toes. They're pale and wrinkled, but not black yet. No frostbite. Another small mercy. "Hey," says the kid who borrowed your matches. "His name is Jenkins, you've confirmed. Is it true what they're saying about Lieutenant Murphy, that he took on a whole company of Germans by himself yesterday?" You nod, tucking the damp socks inside your shirt to dry them with body heat. Saw it myself, climbed up on a burning tank destroyer and manned the 50 cal, held off the entire German attack for an hour. Jenkins whistles. They'll give him a medal for that, won't they? Probably. If we live long enough for the brass to hear about it. It's not that you're trying to scare the kid, but out here, hope is a dangerous thing. Better to expect the worst and be pleasantly surprised than the other way around. After lunch, more K-rations, this time featuring a tin of processed meat product that might generously be called ham. You're assigned to a patrol, 6 men, led by a staff sergeant named Barlow, tasked with checking the area to the north of your position for any sign of German movement. Moving through the snow-covered forest requires a specific kind of attention. Step carefully, listen constantly, watch for tracks, broken branches, cigarette butts, anything that might indicate enemy presence. The winter landscape plays tricks on your eyes. Every shadow could be a German soldier. Every rustle could be someone taking aim at you. The patrol lasts 3 hours and reveals nothing except how exhausted you all are. By the time you return to the company position, your legs feel like rubber and your lungs burn from the cold air. Lieutenant Murphy is meeting with the company's remaining officers when you get back. Their faces are serious and they're studying a map spread out on the hood of a jeep. Something's happening. Word filters down through the ranks. The Germans are pulling back from the Colmar pocket. Intelligence suggests they're redeploying forces to the east to counter the Russian advance. Your regiment is ordered to push forward tomorrow to maintain pressure and prevent any organized retreat. That night, you eat your dinner K-ration, sitting on the edge of your foxhole, watching the sunset paint the snow-covered landscape in shades of pink and gold. It would be beautiful if it weren't a battlefield. Jenkins sits nearby, writing a letter home by the last of the daylight. "What do you tell them?" you ask. "Your folks, I mean." He shrugs. "That I'm fine, that it's not so bad, that the food's good and I'm making friends." He folds the paper carefully. What else can you say? They'd just worry more if they knew the truth. You nod. Your own letters home are filled with the same gentle lies. No point in telling them about the constant fear, the cold that never leaves your bones, the men who disappear in explosions of red mist, there 1 second and gone the next. "How'd you end up here anyway?" Jenkins asks. "You volunteer or get drafted?" Volunteered December 41, right after Pearl Harbor. Seemed like the right thing to do. You chew on a piece of hard candy from your ration kit. You? Drafted August last year. Hadn't even finished high school. You're about to respond when a whistle cuts through the air, followed by the unmistakable sound of an incoming artillery shell. Your body reacts before your mind, diving into the foxhole. Jenkins follows a split second later, landing on top of you as the world explodes. The German barrage lasts 20 minutes. 20 minutes of hell, with the earth shaking and trees shattering and men screaming. All you can do is press yourself into the dirt at the bottom of your foxhole and pray that the next shell doesn't have your name on it. When it finally stops, the silence is almost as shocking as the noise was. Your ears ring. Dirt and pine needles have somehow gotten inside your clothes, your mouth, everywhere. You spit and blink, trying to clear your senses. "You okay?" you ask Jenkins, who's still half on top of you. He nods, his face pale in the growing darkness. Yeah, I think so." Slowly, carefully, you both peek over the edge of the foxhole. The forest has been transformed. Where there were once tall pines, there are now splintered stumps. Craters pockmark the snow. The air smells of cordite and burning wood. Voices call out in the gloom. Officers and NCOs checking on their men. You hear Murphy's voice somewhere to your left, calm and steady. Or, "Medic, we need a medic here." The cry comes from nearby. You and Jenkins scramble out of your foxhole and move toward the sound. In the adjacent position, 2 men are bent over a third. Even in the fading light, you can see that the ground around them is dark with blood. It's Barlow, the sergeant who led your patrol earlier. He's been hit with shrapnel, a jagged piece of metal protruding from his thigh. His face is grey with shock and pain. The medic arrives, pushing past you with his bag of supplies. "Give me some space, fellas, and someone find me a goddamn light. No wine, sir." You pull out your Zippo and flick it on, holding it steady so the medic can see. He cuts away Barlow's pant leg, revealing a wound that makes your stomach turn. The sergeant grits his teeth, refusing to cry out even as the medic probes the injury. "You're going to be okay, Sarge," the medic says, working quickly to clean and bandage the wound. "This is your ticket home." Barlow shakes his head weakly. "Can't leave my boys." "Not your choice, I'm afraid. This needs surgery." Two men arrive with a stretcher and they carefully load Barlow onto it. He reaches out and grabs your arm as they lift him. "Keep an eye on the new kid," he says, nodding toward Jenkins. "He's greener than grass." You nod. "Will do, Sarge. See you stateside." But you both know it's unlikely you'll ever see each other again. That's just how it is out here. People come and go, mostly go. You don't dwell on it. The night grows darker and colder. The scattered clouds that provided the day's light snow have cleared, revealing a vast canopy of stars. The beauty of it strikes you as almost obscene given the carnage on the ground. Lieutenant Murphy calls a meeting of the NCOs and a few experienced privates, including you. The German artillery barrage was likely a prelude to another attack, he explains. The enemy knows you're pushing forward tomorrow and wants to disrupt your preparations. "Double the watch tonight," he orders. 2 men per position, 4-hour shifts. I want eyes on that village all night long. You're assigned the midnight to 4 a.m. watch with Jenkins. When the time comes, you settle into your foxhole together, rifle across your knees, eyes straining to pierce the darkness. The temperature has plummeted and your breath forms small clouds in front of your face. "How do you stand it?" Jenkins whispers after about an hour of silence. "The waiting, I mean, knowing they're out there, might be watching us right now. You consider the question. You just do. You focus on the next minute, the next hour. Don't think too far ahead." "I'm scared," he admits. "All the time. Everyone is. Only liars and crazy people say they aren't afraid out here." The conversation drops off after that. The cold makes talking an effort, and anyway, you need to listen more than you need to chat. The night is alive with small sounds, the creak of frozen branches, the distant rumble of vehicles, the occasional pop of a flare illuminating the no man's land between your position and the village. Around 3 a.m, you spot movement at the edge of the woods. You tense, raising your rifle, but it's just a deer, a small doe picking her way delicately through the snow. She freezes when she senses you, her large eyes reflecting the starlight. For a long moment you stare at each other, 2 living things in a landscape of death. Then she turns and bounds away, white tail flashing in the darkness. When your watch ends, you wake the next shift and crawl back into your sleeping position. Despite the cold and discomfort, exhaustion claims you quickly. Your dreams are a jumbled mess of home and war, faces of friends both living and dead, the sound of your mother's voice mixed with the whistle of falling artillery. Dawn arrives with a thin grey light that does little to warm the frozen landscape, but there's a change in the air, a sense of anticipation. Today, you move forward. Today, you take the fight to the enemy. As you prepare your gear for the advance, Lieutenant Murphy passes by your position. He looks even more tired than yesterday, if that's possible, but his eyes are clear and focused. "All ready?" he asks simply. You nod, securing your helmet strap. "Ready, sir." He clasps your shoulder briefly, the weight of his hand solid and reassuring through your layers of clothing. We push to the village, clear any resistance, and keep going. 1 foot in front of the other. That's how we win this thing. The company forms up along the edge of the woods, facing the open field that leads to Holtzwihr. The morning fog is lifting, revealing the scars from yesterday's battle, the burned-out tank destroyer, the dark forms of fallen German soldiers still lying in the snow, the churned earth from artillery impacts. You check your rifle one last time, making sure a round is chambered. Beside you, Jenkins is doing the same, his movements mechanical, face set in a mask of determination. He catches your eye and gives a small nod. He's terrified, but he'll move forward anyway. That's courage. Right there. The signal comes down the line. It's time. You take a deep breath of the cold air, feeling it fill your lungs. Your heart is pounding, but your hands are steady. You've done this before, you'll do it again, one foot in front of the other, like Murphy said. As you step out from the tree line into the open field, the rising sun breaks through the clouds, illuminating the snow in a dazzling display of light. For just a moment, it's breathtakingly beautiful. Then you're moving forward, boots crunching through the frozen crust, rifle at the ready. You shift slightly, adjusting your weight as you walk. The rhythm of marching forces your muscles to warm up, to loosen. Your breathing falls into a steady pattern, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Nice and easy, that's it. One step and then another, moving toward whatever comes next. The morning light growing stronger with each passing minute. The village of Holtzwihr looms ahead, a cluster of stone buildings with red tile roofs, now partially covered with snow. Smoke rises from a few chimneys. It looks almost peaceful from a distance, like something from a Christmas card. It's hard to believe it's full of Germans trying to kill you. The advance across the open field is the most vulnerable part. 200 yards of exposure with nowhere to hide. Lieutenant Murphy has called in artillery support to suppress any German resistance, but artillery is never precise. The shells land with thunderous impacts, kicking up fountains of snow and dirt around the village perimeter. You move in short rushes. 5 men go forward while others provide covering fire. Then another group moves up, leapfrogging toward the objective. The weight of your gear, rifle, ammunition, grenades, canteen, first aid kit, entrenching tool, feels heavier with each step through the knee-deep snow. Halfway across, the Germans open up with machine gun fire. The distinctive rattle of the MG-42, Hitler's buzzsaw the men call it, cuts through the air. Bullets snap overhead and kick up snow around your feet. You dive forward, pressing yourself into a shallow depression in the ground. "Contact front!" someone shouts unnecessarily, as if the bullets weren't announcement enough. Next to you, Jenkins is flat on his belly, eyes wide with fear. You've been here before, but this is his first time under direct fire. You can see the panic rising in him. "Keep your head down," you tell him. "When I say move, we go together. 3 o'clock direction, toward that fallen tree." "Got it?" He nods, not trusting himself to speak. You wait for a pause in the firing, then tap his shoulder. "Move." Both of you scramble up and sprint toward the fallen tree trunk about 15 yards away. The machine gun opens up again, but you're moving targets now, harder to hit. You slide into cover behind the tree just as bullets thunk into the wood. Jenkins is breathing hard, more from fear than exertion. "Jesus Christ," he gasps. "You're okay," you tell him. "Just keep moving forward. That's all you got to do." All along the line, the company is doing the same dance. Rush, take cover, provide suppressing fire for others, rush again. It's agonizingly slow progress, but it's progress. Murphy is up ahead with the lead element, directing the advance. Even from a distance, you can pick him out, not by his size, which is unimpressive, but by how he moves. Deliberate, focused. He points, gestures, and men respond instantly to his commands. Natural leadership. The artillery has done its job. Several buildings at the edge of Holzwehr are damaged, and the German fire is becoming sporadic rather than sustained. You make another rush forward, closing the distance to the first buildings. Urban combat is its own special hell. The village consists of about 30 buildings clustered around a small central square. Each one could hide snipers, machine gun nests, or troops waiting to ambush you. Each window is a potential firing position, each doorway a possible death trap. You clear buildings in teams of 4. One man kicks in the door, 2 enter with weapons ready, covering different sectors, while the 4th provides security outside. It's a dangerous, nerve-wracking process. The first house you enter with Jenkins and 2 other men is a small farmhouse. The interior is freezing cold but shows signs of recent occupation. Dirty dishes on the table, beds that have been slept in, a pot of something unidentifiable, now frozen solid, still sits on the stove. "Where are the civilians?" Jenkins asks, looking around at the abandoned home. "Evacuated, if they're lucky," you reply, "or hiding in cellars, or dead. This place has changed hands 3 times in the last month." You continue through the village, building by building. Some are empty. In others you find German soldiers, sometimes alive and fighting, sometimes wounded, occasionally dead from the artillery barrage. The wounded are treated according to the rules of war, their weapons confiscated, and they're sent to the rear under guard. By midday, most of Holzwehr is in American hands. The remaining Germans have retreated to the far side of the village. Company B has suffered only light casualties, 3 wounded, none killed. It feels like a victory, small but significant. You and Jenkins find yourselves in what was once a bakery. The ovens are cold, but the faint smell of bread still lingers. Your stomach growls in response. When was the last time you had fresh bread? Months ago, at least. "Think there's anything to eat in here?" Jenkins asks, rummaging through cupboards. "Doubt it. Germans would have taken anything edible." But he persists, and to your surprise, discovers a jar of preserved cherries hidden behind some flour sacks. The 2 of you sit on the floor and pass the jar back and forth, eating the sweet fruit with your fingers. It's the most delicious thing you've tasted in weeks. "Should we share?" Jenkins asks, mouth red with cherry juice. You consider it for a moment, then shake your head. "Spoils of war, kid. Enjoy it while you can." Through the window, you can see other soldiers moving through the village, securing positions, setting up machine guns at strategic points. Lieutenant Murphy is conferring with the other officers in the village square. Maps are spread out on the hood of a jeep that somehow made it this far forward. After finishing the cherries, you join a group assigned to check the church at the centre of the village. It's a small stone building with a modest steeple, probably 100 years old or more. The heavy wooden door is partially open. Inside, the church is dim and quiet, illuminated only by what sunlight filters through stained glass windows. The air smells of candle wax and ancient stone. Pews are arranged in neat rows, and a simple altar stands at the front. It seems untouched by the war raging outside its walls, except for the bodies. In the front pew, an elderly couple sits side by side, hands clasped together. From behind, they might be praying, but when you approach, you see the small, neat holes in the backs of their heads, execution style. "Why?" Jenkins asks softly. "They were just old people." You've seen this before. Collaborators, maybe, or suspected of helping the Americans, or just in the way. Doesn't take much reason in war. The sight sobers everyone. This is what you're fighting against. Not just an army, but the kind of thinking that makes executing old people in a church seem reasonable. You help carry the bodies outside for proper burial when time permits. The ground is too frozen to dig graves now, but someone covers them with a tarp and weighs it down with stones. By late afternoon, the company has established a defensive perimeter around Holtzwihr. Machine guns are positioned to cover all approaches. Foxholes and fighting positions are dug where the ground allows it, or improvised behind walls and in ditches where the earth is too frozen. The Germans will likely counterattack, and you need to be ready. You're assigned to a two-man position at the northeast corner of the village, in what was once a garden. A low stone wall provides some cover, and you've managed to scrape out a shallow depression behind it. Jenkins is your partner again. The kid seems to have attached himself to you, like a duckling imprinting on the first thing it sees. As the winter sun begins to set, casting long blue shadows across the snow, Lieutenant Murphy makes his rounds, checking positions. He stops at yours, crouching down beside the wall. "How's the ammo situation?" he asks. 6 clips for the M1, 2 grenades, you report. Jenkins has about the same. Murphy nods. "Should be getting a resupply tonight, but make it last just in case. Any movement out there?" "Nothing yet, sir." He studies the open field beyond the village, his eyes narrowed. "They'll come from the east, most likely. Forest provides cover for their approach. Keep your eyes open." After he moves on, Jenkins turns to you. "You think we'll hold this place?" You consider the question. "We'll try. That's all we can do." The temperature drops rapidly as darkness falls. The clear day gives way to a night of brutal cold. Your breath forms crystals on your scarf. Any exposed skin quickly becomes numb. You and Jenkins take turns on watch, one sleeping for an hour while the other keeps lookout. Sleep, when it comes, is fitful and unsatisfying. You dream of warmth, of home, of a bed with actual sheets. You wake to Jenkins shaking your shoulder, his face ghostly in the moonlight. "Your turn," he whispers. You sit up, stiff and aching. Every joint protests the movement. You're getting too old for this, you think, though you're only 23. But it's not the years that age you in war. It's the miles, the endless walking, the carrying of heavy loads, the diving for cover, the nights on frozen ground. Your body feels used up, worn out. Taking your position at the wall, you scan the darkness beyond. The moon is nearly full, casting enough light to see the field and the edge of the forest beyond. Nothing moves except occasional swirls of snow blown by the wind. The silence is complete, broken only by the soft sounds of your own breathing. This is the hardest part of war, not the fighting, but the waiting, the endless hours of vigilance when nothing happens. Your mind plays tricks on you. Shadows become enemy soldiers. Wind sounds like whispered German commands. Fatigue makes your eyes see movement where there is none. During these quiet hours, thoughts of home are both comfort and torture. You think of your parents' house in Ohio, the smell of your mother's cooking, the sound of your father's laugh. You think of your girl, Sarah, and wonder if she's still waiting for you. Her letters say she is, but you've seen how war changes relationships. Distance stretches the bonds between people until sometimes they snap. A soft shuffle beside you indicates Jenkins has given up on sleep. He sits next to you, rifle across his knees. "Can't sleep?" you ask. "Feet are too cold," he admits. "Thought I'd keep you company instead." You share a cigarette, cupping your hands around the glow to prevent it from being seen from a distance. It's against regulations, but small comforts become incredibly important out here. The harsh tobacco burns your throat but spreads a momentary warmth through your chest. "You got someone waiting back home?" Jenkins asks, passing the cigarette back. "Girl named Sarah. Been together since high school. You?" He shakes his head. "Nah, never had much luck with girls. Too shy, I guess. You'll find someone when you get back. Women love a man in uniform. If I get back," he says quietly. You don't offer false reassurances. You both know the odds. Instead, you change the subject. "Tell me about your home. Where you from?" Little town in Pennsylvania, coal mining country. My dad works in the mines, wanted me to follow him, but I was hoping the army might give me a chance at something else. He laughs softly. Careful what you wish for, right? The conversation meanders through the night, quiet voices in the darkness. You learn that Jenkins has 3 younger sisters, that he was captain of his high school baseball team, that he wanted to be a teacher someday. In return, you tell him about your life in Ohio, your job at the auto plant before the war, your plans to marry Sarah when you get home. These quiet exchanges of personal history serve a purpose beyond passing time. They forge bonds between soldiers, create a sense of shared humanity in the midst of inhumanity, and they remind you what you're fighting for, not just abstract concepts like freedom or democracy, but the simple right to go home and live your life. Dawn comes with a change in the weather. Clouds move in, heavy and grey, and snow begins to fall. Not the light, dry snow of previous days, but wet, heavy flakes that quickly accumulate. Visibility decreases rapidly. I don't like this, you mutter, peering into the swirling whiteness. Perfect cover for an attack. As if summoned by your words, the sound of artillery fire erupts from beyond the forest. Shells whistle overhead and impact throughout the village with deafening explosions. You and Jenkins press yourselves into your shallow foxhole as debris rains down around you. The barrage continues for 20 minutes, systematic and thorough. The Germans are walking their artillery across the entire village, leaving few areas untouched. When it finally stops, there is a moment of eerie silence, broken only by the calls of wounded men and the crackle of fires that have started in several buildings. Here they come, you say, spotting movement at the forest edge, dark figures emerging from the trees, advancing through the snow. A lot of them, at least a company strength, maybe more. You fire your rifle at the approaching Germans, taking careful aim. The M1 bucks against your shoulder. You work the action, firing again and again until the clip is empty. The distinctive ping as it ejects signals you to reload. Jenkins is firing too, his shots more hesitant but finding targets nonetheless. All along the village perimeter, American weapons open up. The heavier chatter of 30 caliber machine guns joins the sharp crack of rifles. The Germans keep coming, using the snowfall as cover, moving in short rushes just as you did during your own advance. An enemy machine gun opens up from somewhere to your right, its rounds snapping overhead and chipping the top of the stone wall. You duck lower, pulling Jenkins down with you. "We need to relocate," you shout over the noise. "That MG has our position." Staying low, you both move laterally along the wall, finding a new firing position where a fallen tree adds to your cover. The German advance continues despite mounting casualties. They're determined to retake Holtzwihr. Through a break in the snowfall, you spot a German officer directing the attack. He's standing partially exposed, gesturing to his men. You take careful aim, control your breathing, and squeeze the trigger. He drops. The German advance falters momentarily, then continues with renewed intensity. A mortar round lands close enough to shower you with dirt and snow. Your ears ring from the concussion. Jenkins looks at you with wide eyes, checking if you're hit. You give him a thumbs up, though you feel a warm trickle of blood from your left ear. The battle rages for over an hour. The Germans press forward to the very edge of the village before the American defences finally stall them. Artillery support arrives, landing with devastating effect among the exposed enemy troops. They begin to fall back, first in small groups, then in larger numbers. By mid-morning, the attack has been repulsed. The field between the village and forest is littered with dark forms in the snow, fallen German soldiers. The village itself has suffered significant damage. Several buildings are burning despite the snow. The church steeple has been hit and partially collapsed. Medics move among the American positions, treating the wounded. You help Jenkins bandage a minor shrapnel wound on his arm, nothing serious enough to send him to the rear. Your own ear has stopped bleeding, though the ringing continues. Lieutenant Murphy appears, moving quickly from position to position, assessing the situation. His uniform is dirty and torn, and there's a smear of blood on his face that might not be his own. He looks exhausted but alert. "Good work holding the line," he tells you. "We've got reports of more German units moving in from the north. They're not done with us yet." "How long are we supposed to hold this place, sir?" you ask. He gives you a grim smile. "Until we're relieved or overrun, hopefully the former." The day continues with sporadic fighting. German snipers take shots at careless Americans who expose themselves. Random artillery shells land in the village, keeping everyone on edge. You and Jenkins take turns sleeping in 2-hour shifts, neither of you ever fully letting your guard down. The snow continues to fall, gradually burying the evidence of battle. White shrouds form over the bodies in the field. The village grows quiet, except for the occasional crack of a rifle or distant explosion. During one of your rest periods, you find a relatively intact cellar beneath a damaged house. It's warmer underground, protected from the wind and snow. You and Jenkins create a small sanctuary there, hanging a blanket over the entrance to block the light from your single candle. In this tiny pocket of relative safety, you allow yourselves to relax slightly. You share a can of meat from your K rations, using a bayonet as a makeshift utensil. Jenkins produces a battered deck of cards, and you play a few hands of gin rummy to pass the time. "You think we'll push forward tomorrow?" he asks, discarding a 3 of clubs. "Probably. Depends on what intelligence says about German positions. One village at a time, that's how we win this thing. One village at a time," he repeats, almost to himself. "Seems like it'll take forever. Won't be forever. Germans are running out of men, out of supplies. We keep pushing. They keep retreating. Eventually, they'll break." You don't mention the cost, how many American lives it will take to reach that eventual victory. You don't talk about the replacements who arrive each week to fill the gaps left by the dead and wounded. You don't share your private fear that you won't be one of the ones who makes it home. When darkness falls completely, you return to your defensive position. The snow has stopped and the clouds have cleared, revealing a sky filled with stars. The temperature plummets again. The cold seeps through your layers, making your fingers stiff on your rifle. Sometime after midnight, in the darkest hours, you hear a soft sound from Jenkins. At first, you think he's talking in his sleep, but then you realize he's crying, trying to muffle the sound with his sleeve. You pretend not to notice. Crying isn't uncommon out here, especially among the newer men. The constant fear, the exhaustion, the cold, the homesickness. It builds up until something has to give. Better to let it out quietly in the darkness than to break when it matters. After a while, he stops and wipes his face with a gloved hand. "Sorry," he whispers. "Nothing to be sorry for," you reply. "Get some rest. I'll wake you if anything happens." He settles back, his breathing gradually steadying. You keep watch over him and the dark landscape beyond, guardian of this small moment of vulnerability. The weight of your rifle is familiar and reassuring in your hands. The night stretches on, star-filled and silent. In the distance, an occasional flare illuminates the sky, briefly turning the snow-covered landscape silver before fading. Your breath forms clouds that drift away on the gentle wind. Despite the cold and danger, there's a strange peace in these quiet hours. You feel your muscles gradually relaxing as you settle into the rhythm of the watch. Your breathing slows and deepens. The tension in your shoulders begins to ease, bit by bit. You shift slightly, finding a more comfortable position against the stone wall. The village sleeps around you, damaged but still standing. Tomorrow will bring what it brings. More fighting, most likely. But for now, in this moment, there is just the night, the stars, and the soft sound of Jenkins breathing beside you. You tuck your hands inside your jacket for warmth, feeling your fingers begin to thaw. Nice and easy, that's it. Just breathe and watch and wait. The weight of your helmet is solid and reassuring on your head. You take another slow breath, letting it out gradually, watching it cloud in the frigid air as your muscles continue to loosen one by one while the stars wheel slowly overhead. Morning brings a clear sky and renewed activity. You're awakened by the sound of vehicles, American trucks and jeeps entering Holtzvir from the west. Reinforcements, finally. You nudge Jenkins, who blinks awake with the momentary confusion of a man who doesn't remember where he is until the harsh reality crashes back. Looks like we're getting some help, you tell him, nodding toward the convoy. Fresh troops spill from the trucks, their uniforms still relatively clean, their faces lacking the hollow-eyed exhaustion that marks the veterans. They look around at the battle-damaged village with expressions ranging from curiosity to apprehension. Lieutenant Murphy meets with the newly arrived officers while the company sergeants organize distribution of supplies. You and Jenkins join the line for ammunition resupply, each receiving 3 bandoliers of M1 clips. The quartermaster also hands out fresh socks and, miracle of miracles, chocolate bars. "Or real Hershey's," Jenkins says, eyes lighting up as he pockets his. "I'm saving this for a special occasion." You're more practical, unwrapping yours immediately and taking a bite. The sweetness is almost shocking after weeks of bland K rations. "Special occasion is now, kid. Might not get another chance." Orders come down through the sergeants. The company is moving out in 1 hour, pushing northeast toward the Rhine. Intelligence reports indicate the Germans are establishing a new defensive line about 10 miles ahead. Your job is to keep them on the run, prevent them from digging in too deeply. You use the hour to prepare. First priority is your feet. You find a relatively intact building with a working pump and manage to get enough water to wash your socks. While they dry near a small fire, you inspect your feet carefully. No signs of trench foot yet. The skin is wrinkled and pale, but not blackened or swollen. You massage feeling back into them, then put on your fresh socks, saving the newly washed pair for tomorrow. Jenkins follows your example. His feet are in worse shape, with blisters on both heels, but still functional. You show him how to apply strips of adhesive tape over the raw spots before putting on fresh socks. "Thanks," he says. "My dad always said take care of your feet, and they'll take care of you." Smart man. Your dad. The weapons come next. You break down your M1 Garand completely, cleaning each part with meticulous care. Sand, dirt, and moisture are the enemies of any firearm, and in combat, a jammed rifle means death. You reassemble it, work the action to make sure it's smooth, then load a fresh clip. By the time the order comes to move out, you're as ready as you'll ever be. Company B forms up on the northeastern edge of Holtzvir, with Lieutenant Murphy at the front. He looks better after a few hours of rest, some of the tension gone from his face. "We're pushing to Jebsheim," he tells the assembled men, pointing to a spot on his map. "About 8 miles northeast. Germans are falling back, but they'll fight delay actions all the way. Stay alert, keep intervals between men, and watch the tree lines." The advance begins under a cold winter sun. The snowfall from yesterday has left about 6 inches of fresh powder covering the battlefield. It's beautiful in a desolate way, the pure white broken only by tank tracks and the dark shapes of fallen soldiers that no one has had time to bury. Moving through snow is exhausting work. Each step requires lifting your boot clear and then plunging it down again. The constant resistance saps your strength hour by hour. The column moves slowly, with scouts ranging ahead and to the flanks. Around midday, you reach a crossroads where a stone farmhouse stands alone amidst bare fields. The scouts report it appears abandoned, but Murphy takes no chances. He orders a squad to clear it while the rest of the company provides covering fire. You watch as the squad approaches the building cautiously. They're using proper technique, 2 men covering the door while a third kicks it in, then rapid entry with weapons ready. But something feels wrong. The house is too quiet, too still. Your instinct proves correct when the windows suddenly fill with the muzzle flashes of German weapons. The farmhouse was a trap, a perfect ambush position covering the crossroads. 2 Americans go down immediately, caught in the open. Contact front. The call goes up as everyone drops to the snow, returning fire. The Germans have at least 1 machine gun inside the stone building, its distinctive sound cutting through the general cacophony. Lieutenant Murphy is already organizing the response, directing a light machine gun team to set up and provide suppressing fire. He calls for the bazooka team, knowing that the stone walls will provide excellent protection against rifle fire. The company medic, braving the German fire, crawls out to the fallen men. He manages to drag one back to safety, but the other is clearly beyond help, his blood a vivid crimson against the white snow. The bazooka team moves into position, taking aim at the farmhouse. The backblast sends up a cloud of snow as the rocket launches with a whoosh. It strikes the building with a thunderous impact, blowing a hole in the wall. A second rocket follows, then a third. After the last explosion, there's a moment of silence. Then white fabric appears in one of the shattered windows, a surrender flag. 4 German soldiers emerge slowly, hands raised. They're young, not much older than Jenkins, with the gaunt faces of men who've been on short rations for too long. Their uniforms are worn and patched, lacking the quality of earlier German equipment. As they're searched and disarmed, one of them speaks halting English. "War is over for us," he says, not meeting your eyes. "Better to live." You feel no hatred for these men, just a weary recognition. They're soldiers doing their job same as you. Had the circumstances been reversed, you might have been the one surrendering. The Germans are sent to the rear under guard, and the advance continues. The incident at the farmhouse has cost you time and 1 man, but it could have been much worse. Murphy seems to take the loss personally, though, his face grim as he reorganizes the column. The day wears on, the miles passing slowly under your boots. The terrain changes, becoming more wooded, with gentle hills replacing the flat fields around Holtzwihr. Each patch of forest, each hill crest presents a potential ambush site, and the company moves with increasing caution. Late in the afternoon, you spot something in the snow ahead, a single boot partially buried. Looking closer, you see it still attached to a leg, an American soldier half covered by snowdrift. His eyes stare sightlessly at the sky, his rifle still clutched in frozen hands. "3rd Battalion passed through here yesterday," Murphy says, coming up beside you. "They had some hard fighting." You kneel and check the dead soldiers' dog tags. James Mitchell from Tennessee, someone you've never met, yet bound to you by the uniform you share. You close his eyes and cover his face with his scarf, the small dignity you can offer. "Should we bury him, sir?" Jenkins asks. Murphy shakes his head. "Graves registration will come through after us. They'll take care of him. We need to keep moving. It's a harsh reality of war. The dead must wait while the living continue the fight. You mark the location on your map so the body can be found later, then rejoin the advance." By nightfall, you've covered about 6 miles, not as far as planned, but decent progress given the conditions. The company establishes a defensive perimeter in a small copse of trees that offers some shelter from the wind. No fires are permitted this close to enemy lines, so dinner is another cold meal of K rations. As darkness settles, so does the cold, even more intense than previous nights. The temperature must be well below 0. Your canteen freezes solid within an hour. Your breath forms ice crystals on your scarf and collar. Even blinking becomes painful as moisture freezes on your eyelashes. "How cold do you think it is?" Jenkins asks, his teeth chattering as he huddles next to you in your shared foxhole. "Too damn cold to measure," you reply. "But I was in Bastogne last month. This feels worse." To conserve body heat, you sit shoulder to shoulder, sharing a single blanket draped over both of you. It's not enough, but it's better than nothing. Sleep comes in brief snatches, interrupted by the need to move, to stamp your feet, to keep blood flowing to your extremities. Around midnight, snow begins to fall again, big fat flakes that accumulate quickly. Within an hour, there's a fresh 3 inches covering everything. It actually helps with the cold, providing an insulating layer over your foxhole, but it also reduces visibility to near 0. Perfect conditions for a German counterattack. It comes just before dawn, when human resistance is at its lowest ebb. First, the mortars, dozens of shells raining down on your position with terrifying accuracy. The Germans have had time to register their fires on this location. You and Jenkins press yourselves into the bottom of your foxhole as the world explodes around you. Dirt, snow, and tree fragments rain down. The noise is deafening, physical, a pressure against your eardrums. Then, through the falling snow, dark figures appear, German infantry dressed in white winter camouflage, moving forward in the wake of the mortar barrage. They're hard to spot, ghostly shapes in the swirling snow. Contact front, the cry goes up, and American weapons begin to fire. Your own M1 bucks against your shoulder as you aim at the advancing figures. Jenkins is firing too, his earlier hesitation gone, replaced by the mechanical necessity of combat. The Germans press forward despite casualties, using the limited visibility to their advantage. They're getting close, too close. You hear German voices now, shouting commands. A stick grenade lands nearby, exploding with a sharp crack and spraying fragments overhead. "Running low," Jenkins says, slapping his ammunition pouches. You toss him one of your bandoliers. "Make 'em count." The fight becomes confused, chaotic. Germans appear and disappear in the swirling snow. Some fall to your fire, others press forward. A group breaks through the American line to your left, threatening to flank your position. Lieutenant Murphy's voice cuts through the chaos, directing a squad to seal the breach. Even in the middle of a swirling battle, he maintains situational awareness, adjusting the defense as needed. You spot a German officer directing the attack, his gestures animated as he points toward the American positions. Taking careful aim, you squeeze the trigger. He drops. The German advance falters momentarily, then resumes with renewed fury. A machine gun opens up to your right, American, from the sound. Its steady chatter cuts through the German ranks, forcing them to seek cover. Murphy has positioned his assets well, creating interlocking fields of fire. For 20 minutes, the battle rages at close quarters. You fire until your rifle becomes too hot to touch, despite the freezing air. Jenkins does the same. The snow around your position is churned and blackened by explosions, littered with brass casings and discarded equipment. Then, as suddenly as it began, the German attack breaks. The remaining white-clad figures withdraw, dragging their wounded with them. They fade into the swirling snow like ghosts, leaving only their dead behind. In the sudden quiet, you can hear wounded men calling for medics, both American and German voices, united in pain if nothing else. The company medics move forward, treating the injured regardless of uniform. Jenkins slumps back against the side of the foxhole, his face streaked with dirt and powder residue. "That was close," he says, voice shaking slightly. "Too close," you agree, checking your ammunition. You're down to your last clip. Lieutenant Murphy moves along the line, checking positions, reassuring the men. When he reaches your foxhole, you can see the strain on his face, though his voice remains steady. "Good work holding the line," he says. "We've got reports they're pulling back to Jebsheim. We'll push forward once it's light enough to see." "Ammunition's running low, sir," you report. "Resupplies coming up. Should be here within the hour." He pauses, looking at Jenkins. "You okay, Private?" Jenkins nods, straightening up. "Yes, sir. Ready to move." Murphy claps him on the shoulder. "Good man." As he moves on, Jenkins looks at you with something like wonder. "Lieutenant remembered my name. He makes a point of knowing his men," you tell him. "It's why we'd follow him anywhere." The sky gradually lightens, though the snow continues to fall. The battlefield reveals itself in the growing light, a landscape transformed by violence. Shell craters pockmark the ground, trees stand shattered, their splintered trunks pointing accusingly at the sky. Dark shapes lie half buried in snow, some moving faintly, others eternally still. The promised ammunition resupply arrives, carried forward by a squad from the support company. You receive 2 bandoliers of M1 clips and a few grenades. There's also a thermos of hot coffee, a luxury that seems almost obscene in its normalcy. You and Jenkins take turns sipping the steaming liquid, feeling warmth spread through your bodies for the first time in days. It's a small pleasure, but out here, small pleasures are all you have. The company reorganizes for the advance. Casualties have been relatively light. 3 killed, 7 wounded badly enough to be evacuated. Others with minor wounds choose to stay with the unit. Among infantrymen, there's an unspoken code. You don't leave your buddies unless you absolutely can't continue. By mid-morning, the snow has stopped and visibility improves. The company moves out, advancing cautiously through the broken landscape. You're in the second squad, with Jenkins still at your side. Lieutenant Murphy leads from the front, as always. The day passes in a blur of weariness and vigilance, miles of snow-covered terrain, occasional exchanges of fire with German rearguards, brief halts to rest and reorient. Your world narrows to the ground immediately in front of you, the weight of your rifle, the rhythm of your breathing. By late afternoon, you can see Jebsheim in the distance, another village, much like Holzwehr, with stone buildings and a small church steeple. Smoke rises from several locations, evidence of fighting. The sound of artillery grows louder. The 3rd Battalion is already engaged there. Company B halts in a wooded area about half a mile from the village. Lieutenant Murphy gathers the squad leaders for a briefing while the rest of you take the opportunity to rest. You sit with your back against a tree, massaging feeling back into your feet. Jenkins collapses beside you, so tired he can barely keep his eyes open. "Almost there," you tell him. "Jebsheim's the last major strong point before the Rhine. Once we take it, Germany's on the defensive for good." He nods, too exhausted for words. You hand him your canteen, which has thawed enough to provide a few swallows of water. He drinks gratefully, then passes it back. The brief rest ends all too soon. The squad leaders return with orders. Company B will support 3rd Battalion's attack on Jebsheim, moving in from the southwest while they press from the west. H hour is 1800, just before dusk. You check your watch, an old Bulova that had been your father's. It's 16:45, less than an hour to prepare. You help Jenkins to his feet, and together you inspect your weapons one last time. His hands are steady now, his movements efficient. He's changed since you first met him, transformed by the crucible of combat from a green replacement into a soldier. Listen, you tell him as you adjust your helmet strap. Stay close to me when we go in. Urban fighting is different, faster, more confusing. Keep your head on a swivel and watch the windows. That's where they'll have their machine guns. He nods seriously. I'll stick with you. As the company forms up for the advance, Lieutenant Murphy moves among the men, offering a word of encouragement here, a nod of approval there. When he reaches you and Jenkins, he pauses. This is likely to be tough, he says candidly. Germans know the Rhine is their last natural barrier. They'll fight hard for Jebsheim. We'll fight harder, sir, you reply. He smiles slightly, the expression transforming his boyish face. I know you will. That's why we're going to win. At precisely 1800, the artillery opens up, American guns laying down a preparatory barrage on Jebsheim. The ground shakes with the impacts. Smoke and dust rise above the village. After 5 minutes of this, the signal comes to advance. The company moves forward in extended order, each man 5 yards from the next, to minimize casualties from artillery or machine gun fire. The ground slopes gently down toward the village, offering little cover beyond occasional snowdrifts and frozen drainage ditches. Halfway to the first buildings, the Germans open up with machine guns. Their fire is disciplined, sweeping back and forth across the American line. Men drop to the snow, some hit, others taking what cover they can find. You and Jenkins dive into a shallow ditch, pressing yourselves into the frozen earth. Crawl forward, you shout over the noise. Use the ditch for cover. Together, you begin to move, elbows and knees digging into the hard ground, rifles held above the snow. It's slow, exhausting progress, but it keeps you alive. Others are doing the same all along the line, inching toward the village under heavy fire. Lieutenant Murphy is directing a machine gun team to set up and provide covering fire. He seems to have no concern for his own safety, moving from position to position, completely exposed at times. You've seen this before, his apparent disregard for danger that borders on recklessness, but is actually calculated risk-taking. The sun is setting now, the light fading rapidly. In the growing darkness, muzzle flashes stand out starkly against the buildings of Jebsheim. The American advance continues, relentless despite casualties. This is what infantry does, absorbs losses and keeps moving forward. You reach the outskirts of the village as full darkness falls. The first buildings loom ahead, their windows dark and ominous. Street fighting is about to begin, the most dangerous kind of combat where death can come from any direction. Lieutenant Murphy gathers a group of men, including you and Jenkins. We need to clear these buildings one by one, he says, his voice calm despite the bullets snapping overhead. 4-man teams, standard procedure. I'll take the first house. Davis, you're with me. Johnson and Williams, you too. You feel a moment of relief that you and Jenkins aren't in the first team, followed immediately by shame at the thought. Murphy catches your eye, and there's understanding there. He knows. He's felt the same fear, the same relief, the same shame. Second team follows 1 minute after we enter, he continues. That's you, Richards. Take Jenkins, Miller and Thompson. Clear the building to the right of ours. You nod, accepting the responsibility. Yes, sir. Murphy checks his watch. Synchronize now. We go in exactly 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes stretch endlessly as you prepare. You explain the procedure to Jenkins again, making sure he understands his role. Second man in, covering the left side of each room while you take the right. Miller and Thompson will secure the rear and provide backup. Remember, speed and violence of action, you tell him. Move fast, shoot first, ask questions later. Anyone inside is assumed hostile until proven otherwise. His face is pale in the darkness, but his jaw is set with determination. I'm ready. At the designated time, Murphy's team moves forward. They approach the first building, a 2-story stone house with shuttered windows. Murphy signals and Davis kicks in the door. They enter rapidly, weapons at the ready. The sound of gunfire erupts from inside almost immediately. You count the seconds, then signal your own team forward. The next building is similar, possibly a small shop with living quarters above. Its door is already partially open, which puts you instantly on alert. Could be a trap. Drawing a grenade from your belt, you pull the pin and toss it through the doorway. The explosion is deafening in the confined space. Before the dust settles, you're through the door, Jenkins right behind you. The front room is empty except for scattered furniture and the debris from your grenade. You move quickly to the next room, covering the right side as Jenkins takes the left. It's a kitchen, also empty, though a pot still sits on the cold stove. Miller and Thompson secure the ground floor while you and Jenkins head upstairs, moving carefully on the creaking wooden steps. At the top is a small landing with doors leading to what must be bedrooms. The first room is empty. The second contains an elderly German couple, huddled together on a bed, terrified by the sounds of battle and your violent entry. You lower your rifle slightly. Nicht schießen, the old man pleads. Don't shoot. Wir sind Zivilisten, his wife adds. We are civilians. You use your limited German to tell them to stay put, that you're not here to harm non-combatants. They nod vigorously, clearly willing to agree to anything that keeps them alive. The rest of the house proves empty of any military threat. You station Thompson to watch the civilians while the rest of you continue clearing the building, checking closets, underbeds, anywhere a soldier might hide. Outside, the sounds of battle continue. House by house, building by building, the village is being cleared. It's slow, dangerous work. Occasionally, the night is split by the sound of grenades or the longer bursts of automatic weapons fire. Flares illuminate the scene sporadically, casting harsh white light and deep shadows that make the familiar strange and threatening. After clearing your assigned building, you regroup outside. Murphy's team has secured their objective as well, though Davis has a minor wound from flying debris. We keep moving, Murphy orders. Next block of buildings, same teams. And so it goes. Through the long night, the pattern repeats. Approach, enter, clear, secure. Some buildings are empty, others contain civilians, terrified and cowering. A few hold German soldiers who either fight to the death or surrender when they realize their position is hopeless. By dawn, about half of Jebsheim is in American hands. The Germans still hold the northern section, centered around the church. They've established a strong defensive position there, with machine guns covering the approaches and snipers in the bell tower. Your team has been fortunate so far, suffering no casualties despite several close calls. Jenkins has performed well, his initial nervousness replaced by a focused determination. You find yourself proud of him, of how far he's come in just a few days. As the sky lightens, revealing a clear winter day, Lieutenant Murphy calls a halt to allow the men to rest and resupply. The company establishes a temporary command post in a relatively intact building near the center of the secured area. Ammunition is distributed, the wounded are treated, and cold rations are consumed with the mechanical actions of men too tired to even taste what they're eating. You find a corner to sit in, your back against a wall, rifle across your knees. Jenkins joins you, his face streaked with dirt and sweat despite the cold. He offers you a cigarette and you accept gratefully, cupping your hands around the match flame. "How long do you think it'll take to clear the rest?" he asks, gesturing toward the northern part of the village where occasional shots still ring out. You exhale a stream of smoke, considering. "Another day, maybe 2, depends on how stubborn they are." He nods, looking thoughtful. "And after that?" "We keep going, all the way to Berlin, if that's what it takes." The conversation drops off as exhaustion claims you both. You don't quite sleep, that would be dangerous even here, but you drift in a twilight state, aware of your surroundings but detached from them. Your muscles gradually relax, one by one, the tension of combat seeping away for these few precious moments of rest. Jenkins's head droops against your shoulder, his breathing deepening. You let him sleep, keeping watch with half-lidded eyes. Around you, other men do the same, grabbing moments of rest where they can. Lieutenant Murphy moves among them, checking on everyone, making sure the wounded are cared for, that ammunition is distributed fairly. Despite having been awake and fighting as long as anyone, he shows few signs of fatigue beyond a slight stiffness in his movements. When he reaches your position, he crouches down beside you. "Get some rest while you can," he says quietly. "We move again at noon." You nod, too tired for words. He places a hand briefly on your shoulder, a gesture of understanding and support, then moves on to the next group of men. Outside, the winter sun climbs higher, its light filtering through broken windows to cast geometric patterns on the floor. The sounds of battle have diminished to occasional single shots, snipers probably from both sides seeking targets of opportunity. In this strange, suspended moment between fighting, you allow yourself to relax more deeply. The weight of your helmet feels heavy on your head, but you don't remove it. Danger is still too close. Your eyelids droop despite your best efforts to stay alert. Your breathing slows, matching rhythm with Jenkins beside you. The wall at your back is cold but solid, a small piece of stability in a world gone mad. You shift slightly, finding a more comfortable position as your muscles continue to loosen. Just a little rest, you tell yourself, just enough to be ready for what comes next. Through the broken window, you can see a patch of blue sky, startlingly bright and peaceful. It reminds you of home, of summer days that seem to stretch forever, of a time before war consumed your world. You take a slow, deep breath, savoring the memory and the momentary peace. Your rifle lies across your knees, its weight familiar and oddly comforting. Your hands rest on it lightly, ready to bring it up at the first sign of danger. But for now, just for these few precious moments, you allow yourself to drift in the borderland between wakefulness and sleep, your body gradually surrendering to exhaustion while some small part of your mind remains vigilant. The too brief rest ends with Lieutenant Murphy's voice cutting through your half-sleep. "Saddle up, we're moving out." You blink away the fog of exhaustion and nudge Jenkins, who wakes with a startled expression, momentarily forgetting where he is. Reality crashes back quickly enough. "Time to go," you tell him. Outside, the winter sun is high in a clear blue sky. The temperature has risen slightly, turning the snow wet and heavy underfoot. The sounds of fighting have intensified again, mostly from the northern section of Jebsheim around the church. The plan, as Murphy explains it, is simple but dangerous. Company B will advance through the narrow streets toward the church square, clearing buildings as they go. The Germans have established their main defensive position there, with machine guns and snipers covering all approaches. Intelligence says they've got about a company strength dug in around the church, Murphy tells the assembled squad leaders. They're well supplied and determined to hold. This is going to be house to house, street to street fighting all the way. You check your gear one last time. Full ammunition pouches, grenades on your belt, canteen refilled with water that tastes strongly of iodine purification tablets, K-rations stuffed in your pockets, rifle cleaned and oiled despite your exhaustion. Jenkins does the same beside you, his movements now almost as practiced as your own. He's a quick learner, adaptable. If he survives this war, he'll do well in whatever comes after. The advance begins at 1300 hours, with Company B moving up the main street toward the church square. The Germans have had time to prepare their defences, and they've done so expertly. Every intersection is covered by machine gun fire. Snipers occupy upper floors of buildings, targeting anyone who exposes themselves for more than a few seconds. Progress is painfully slow. You move from doorway to doorway, from building to building, always in danger, always alert. The Germans contest every foot of ground with fanatical determination. In the third house you clear, you find a German sniper set up in an upstairs bedroom. He's young, barely old enough to shave, but he manages to get off a shot that misses you by inches before Jenkins puts a bullet through his chest. The boy, and he is just a boy, looks surprised as he dies, as if he never really believed it could happen to him. He couldn't have been more than 16, Jenkins says, his voice shaking slightly as you search the body for intelligence. Hitler's scraping the bottom of the barrel now, you reply. Volkssturm units, old men and boys. The real soldiers are mostly gone. You find a letter in the boy's pocket from his mother in Bavaria. You can't read most of it, but you recognize a few words. Liebe, love, vermissen, miss, zurückkommen, come back, promises that will never be kept now. Despite your exhaustion and the numbness that combat brings, you feel a pang of regret. This boy was someone's son, someone who loved him and prayed for his safety. Now he's just another casualty in a war that's already claimed millions. You pocket the letter, not as a trophy, but because it seems wrong to leave it here with his body. Maybe someday it can be returned to his family, a small comfort in their grief. The advance continues, building by building. By late afternoon, Company B has pushed to within 100 yards of the church square. The casualties have been mercifully light. 2 men wounded badly enough to be evacuated, several more with minor injuries who choose to continue fighting. Lieutenant Murphy calls a halt at the last row of buildings before the open square. The church is clearly visible now, its stone walls pockmarked by artillery impacts, its steeple damaged but still standing. German machine gun positions are set up around its perimeter, behind sandbags and rubble. Moving across that open space would be suicidal. We need to flank them, Murphy says, studying the situation through his binoculars. Richards, take your squad through these buildings to the right. See if you can find a position to enfilade their machine guns from the side. You nod, gathering your squad. 8 men, including Jenkins. The buildings Murphy indicated are a row of connected shops with apartments above, their rear walls backing onto an alley that might provide covered approach to the flank of the church square. Moving through the buildings is dangerous. Close quarters work. Each doorway, each room could hide enemies. You proceed methodically, clearing as you go, communicating with hand signals to maintain silence. In the third building, you find what you're looking for, a second-floor window that offers a clear view of the German positions from the side. Their machine guns are all oriented toward the main approach, leaving their flank relatively exposed. You set up your squad's Browning automatic rifle, manned by Private Wilson, at the window. The bar is a powerful weapon, capable of laying down substantial suppressive fire. The rest of the squad takes positions at other windows, ready to support the attack. Using your field telephone, you report the situation to Lieutenant Murphy. "We're in position, sir. Clear field of fire on their right flank. Ready when you are." "Good work," comes his reply. "Stand by. Artillery support in 5 minutes, then we go." Those 5 minutes stretch endlessly as you wait, watching the German positions through your rifle sights. They're unaware of your presence, still focused on the main street. You can see them clearly, about 20 men around the church, with more presumably inside. Their faces are drawn with exhaustion, much like your own, but they maintain their vigilance. Then the artillery begins. American 105mm howitzers laying down a barrage around the church. Not directly on it, the stone building would provide excellent protection, but close enough to force the Germans to keep their heads down. "Fire!" you shout, and Wilson opens up with the bar. The heavy rounds tear into the exposed flank of the German position, catching them completely by surprise. The rest of your squad adds rifle fire, creating a deadly crossfire. Simultaneously, Murphy leads the main element of Company B in a frontal assault across the square. It's a dangerous gambit, but with artillery support and your flanking fire, they have a chance. The Germans respond with desperate courage, turning some of their weapons toward your position while continuing to engage the main attack. Bullets shatter the window glass around you, forcing you to duck and shift position constantly. Jenkins is beside you, firing steadily, his face set in concentration. He's a different person from the nervous replacement who arrived just days ago. Combat changes men quickly, either breaking them or hardening them. Jenkins has hardened. The battle for the church square lasts 20 minutes. 20 minutes of intense, close-range fighting that seems to stretch for hours. The Germans contest every yard, but they're caught in a crossfire they can't escape. One by one, their positions are overrun or silenced. When it's over, the square is in American hands. The few surviving Germans retreat northward or surrender. The cost has been high. 4 men from Company B killed, another dozen wounded. But Jepsheim's church square, the last major German strongpoint, has fallen. You lead your squad down to join the main element. The church itself still needs to be cleared. There could be Germans inside, using it as a last redoubt. Lieutenant Murphy organizes a team to enter, choosing you to lead it. "Take 4 men," he orders. "Go in fast and thorough. Watch for booby traps." You select Jenkins and 3 others. The heavy wooden door of the church is partially destroyed by artillery. You approach cautiously, watching for movement, for any sign of defenders. "Grenades first," you instruct. 2 men toss fragmentation grenades through the doorway. The explosions echo inside the stone building, followed by silence. "Go!" you command, and the team rushes through the doorway, weapons ready. The interior of the church is a scene of destruction and sacrilege, pews overturned to form barricades, the altar used as a machine gun position, ammunition boxes stacked in front of religious statues, windows shattered, the colourful stained glass lying in shards across the stone floor. But there are no defenders, only the dead. 3 German soldiers lie among the debris, victims of the grenades or earlier artillery. The rest have fled or surrendered. As you clear the bell tower, a dangerous climb up narrow, winding stairs, you reflect on the irony of fighting and dying in a house of God. The Germans had turned this sacred space into a fortress, and you've turned it back into a charnel house. Such is the nature of war. It corrupts everything it touches. From the top of the tower, you can see the entire village and the surrounding countryside. To the north, the last German units are retreating toward the Rhine, harried by American artillery. To the south and west, the American forces are consolidating their gains, setting up defensive positions, treating the wounded. The Rhine itself is visible in the distance, a silver ribbon cutting through the winter landscape. Beyond it lies Germany proper, the enemy's homeland. The war is far from over, but the momentum has shifted irrevocably. The Germans are on the defensive now, fighting for their own soil rather than occupied territories. You descend to report to Lieutenant Murphy. "Church is clear, sir. Good observation point from the tower." He nods, studying his map. "Good work. Get your men some rest. We'll hold here tonight, push on toward the Rhine tomorrow." The remainder of the day passes in the mundane tasks that fill the intervals between fighting. Ammunition is redistributed, the wounded are evacuated, defensive positions are established in case of counterattack, rations are consumed without enthusiasm but with the knowledge that they're necessary fuel. As darkness falls, the temperature drops again, though not as severely as previous nights. You find shelter in a partially damaged house near the church square. The roof has a hole from artillery fire, but the walls are intact, and there's a fireplace where a small, carefully shielded fire provides welcome warmth. Jenkins sits beside you, cleaning his rifle with mechanical precision. His face in the firelight looks older, the boyishness fading under the stresses of combat and constant vigilance. "Do you think we'll make it?" he asks suddenly. "All the way to the end, I mean." You consider the question, poking at the fire with a stick. "Some of us will, some won't. That's just how it is." Those aren't great odds. Better than they were a year ago. Germans are running out of everything. Men, materials, time. They're fighting on their home ground now, which makes them dangerous, but they can't win. They know it. We know it. It's just a matter of how long it takes and how many more have to die before they accept it. He nods, reassembling his rifle with practiced movements. "If I make it, I'm going to be a teacher like I planned. Tell kids about all this. Make sure they understand what it cost." "That's good," you say. "Someone needs to remember." The conversation drifts as exhaustion claims you both. Jenkins wraps himself in a blanket and falls asleep sitting up, his back against the wall. You maintain watch a while longer, staring into the dying embers of the fire, lost in thoughts of home and what awaits after the war, if you survive to see it. Eventually, sleep becomes unavoidable. You arrange your gear within easy reach, place your helmet beside you, and settle into the least uncomfortable position possible. The sounds of the village at night drift through the damaged roof, occasional shots in the distance, the murmur of men on watch, the creak of buildings settling. Your mind wanders back over the past few days, the defense of Holtzwihr, Murphy's incredible stand on the burning tank destroyer, the advance to Jebsheim, the house-to-house fighting, so much death and destruction, and for what? So that people back home can live without fear, can go about their daily lives in peace and safety. Is it worth it? On nights like this, cold and exhausted and far from home, it's hard to say. But in the morning, you'll get up and continue the advance, because that's what soldiers do. They keep going until the job is done, or until they can't go any further. In later years, long after the war, you'll remember these moments with a clarity that surprises you. The terror and the boredom, the camaraderie and the loneliness, the way time seemed to stretch and compress in combat, seconds lasting hours, days passing in a blur, the smells and sounds that never quite leave your memory. You'll remember Lieutenant Audie Murphy, the unlikely hero who went on to receive the Medal of Honor for his stand at Holtzwihr, who became the most decorated American soldier of the war. You'll see his face on movie posters because, yes, he becomes a Hollywood star after the war, and you'll think of him not as the celebrity but as the tired young officer who led from the front, who knew each man's name, who did what needed doing no matter the cost. You'll remember Jenkins too, the green replacement who became a soldier before your eyes. You'll wonder if he made it all the way home, if he became the teacher he wanted to be, if he told his students about the war and what it really meant. Most of all, you'll remember the cold, the bone-deep, relentless cold of that winter in France and Germany, the way it seeped into everything, made every task harder, every wound more painful, every moment of rest less restful. In the depths of January nights, decades later, You'll wake up reaching for a blanket that was never adequate, shivering with a phantom chill. But that's all in the future. For now, there is only this moment, a damaged house in a captured village, a dying fire, the sound of Jenkins breathing nearby, and the weight of your rifle within reach. Tomorrow will bring what it brings. For tonight, this small pocket of relative safety is enough. Your eyelids grow heavy as the fire dims to mere embers. The tension begins to leave your body, one muscle at a time. First your shoulders, dropping away from your ears, where you've been unconsciously holding them. Then your back, no longer quite so rigid against the wall. Your legs, stretched out before you, the ache of miles walked gradually fading. Your breathing slows, deepens, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The rhythm of it becomes almost hypnotic, lulling you further towards sleep. The sounds around you, Jenkins's soft snoring, the occasional pop from the cooling fire, the distant noises of the village begin to blur together, forming a backdrop that's strangely comforting in its familiarity. The weight of your body seems to increase, pressing you more firmly against the floor. It's not uncomfortable, just heavy, as if gravity has intensified. Your arms and legs feel pleasantly weighted, difficult to move, though you have no desire to do so. Your mind, which has been racing with tactical concerns and memories of home, begins to quiet. Thoughts still come, but they're slower now, less urgent. They drift past like leaves on a stream, requiring no action, no response, just observations to be noted and released. The cold that has been your constant companion for weeks seems less intrusive now. There's a warmth spreading from your core outward, reaching your limbs, your fingers and toes. Not the intense heat of a summer day, but the gentle warmth of a body at rest, conserving energy, preparing for sleep. Your heartbeat, which spikes with every explosion, every moment of danger, has settled into a steady, slower rhythm. Thump, 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 the most fundamental percussion, the baseline of existence. Thump, 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 reliable, constant, soothing. The lines between wakefulness and sleep begin to blur. Your awareness of your surroundings fades gradually, replaced by a floating sensation, as if you're drifting gently on a calm sea. The hard floor beneath you seems to soften, to cradle your body rather than resist it. Images form behind your closed eyelids, not the sharp, intrusive flashbacks of combat, but softer scenes, home, family, peaceful moments before the war. They don't demand attention or provoke emotion, they simply exist, comforting in their familiarity. The weight of your helmet beside you, the presence of your rifle within reach, the knowledge that others stand watch while you rest, all combine to create a bubble of security, however temporary, however illusory. For this moment at least you are safe, you can surrender to sleep. And so you do, slipping deeper into that velvet darkness where the war cannot follow, where there are no artillery barrages, no machine gun fire, no frozen foxholes or desperate advances, just stillness and peace and the blessed absence of fear. Your breathing has become so slow and regular now, each exhalation slightly longer than the one before. Your body feels wonderfully heavy, deliciously immobile. Even your thoughts have slowed to a trickle, then to occasional drops, and finally to nothing at all. In this moment, suspended between wakefulness and dreams, there is perfect peace. No past to regret, no future to fear. Just now, just this, just the gentle flow of breath and the steady beat of your heart and the comforting weight of exhaustion finally claiming its due. Sleep comes, not as a dramatic plunge, but as a gradual submersion, a sinking into depths that welcome and enfold you. The last flicker of conscious thought acknowledges that tomorrow will bring more fighting, more danger, more cold, but that is tomorrow. Tonight there is only rest, deep, complete, healing rest. And as you drift into that final surrender, one last image forms, not of war, but of home, of peace, of a world where young men don't huddle in frozen foxholes or clear shattered villages house by house. A world worth fighting for, worth surviving for. Sleep now, soldier. Sleep deeply and without dreams. The watch is kept, the perimeter is secure. Tomorrow's burdens will wait for tomorrow's strength. Tonight there is only this perfect stillness, this complete release, this blessed descent into the healing dark.